My partner Susie. I still remember Jim's birthday party in 2019, when we were all partying at the after party at our house, and Susie and Geoff burned cigarette holes in every single new seat on my porch and spilled the wine. And yeah, it was quite a night. It was epic. So we picked out a few songs that remind me of Geoff. There's so many. We're going to do some. So this first one, I used to tell Geoff songs Sue and I would play, and he liked the old songs like I do. And he said he really liked this song. I think it's because... I'm going to cry. I don't know why. Maybe we just don't go there.
Because she never cries any other time in her life.
No, I don't really. Let's just let the words talk for themselves. All right. Hold on. Maybe Geoff doesn't want me to play this song.
Pack up all my care and woe. Here I go, singing low. Bye, bye, blackbird. Where somebody waits for me, sugar sweet, so is he. Bye, bye, blackbird. No one here can love or understand me. All the hard luck stories, they all hand to me. Make my bed and light the light. I'll arrive late tonight. Blackbird, bye-bye.
And I gotta wipe my nose on my sleeve.
It's okay, Dove. You're fine. Memories light the corners of my mind. Misty watercolored memories of the way we were. Scattered pictures of the smiles we left behind, smiles we gave to one another for the way we were. Can it be that it was all so simple then, or has time rewritten every line? If we had the chance to do it all again, tell me, would we? Could we? Memories may be beautiful and yet what's too painful to remember, we simply choose to forget. So it's the laughter, yeah, we will remember whenever we remember the way we were, the way we were.
Okay, so I was debating whether or not to do this song because I was going to change the words a little bit like Geoff did with I Will Survive and some other songs, and I didn't know if it was too soon, but for some reason this just sums up Geoff's life. Yes. Now I was debating that, and then I was like, maybe I shouldn't. But then I got a message from one of his friends in Cleveland who sent a memory, and he said, man, I just remember that time when I made fun of this musical, and Geoff just gave me so much shit. I didn't know it was his favorite musical, and he was so mad at me. And so then I said, yeah, all right, then I got to do it.
Yeah.
So we took some liberties with the words, as well as the arrangement, which wouldn't please him, but it was necessary.
And I'm wearing this because I just think Geoff would like the hat. What good is sitting alone in your room? Come hear the music play. Life is a cabaret, oh chum. Come to the cabaret. Put down the knitting, the book and the boom. It's time for a holiday. Life is a cabaret, oh chum. Come to the cabaret. Come taste the wine. Come hear the band. Come blow your horn, start celebrating. We're right this way, your tables are waiting. No use permitting some prophet of doom to wipe every smile away. Oh, life is a cabaret, oh chum. Come to the cabaret.
I remember my little brother Geoffrey, with whom Mark shared assorted rooms so willingly. He wasn't what you'd call a blushing flower. As a matter of fact, he dated by the hour. The day he died, some may have snickered. Well, that's what comes from too much butts and liquor. He lived his life just like a flaming queen. He was the craziest queen we've ever seen. All right, this is where I get choked up. We'll think of Geoffrey till our dying day. We'll remember how he turned to us in the say. Take it away, Susie, and give me time to sit down.
And this is what he said.
Ready?
Ready. What good is sitting alone in your room? Come hear the music play. Yeah. Life is a cabaret, oh chum. Come to the cabaret. Yes. Put down the knitting, the book and the broom. It's time for a holiday. Oh, life is a cabaret, oh chum. Come to the cabaret. Start by admitting from cradle to tomb, it isn't that long a stay. Oh, life is a cabaret, oh chum, yeah. Only a cabaret, oh chum. So come to the cabaret.
Thank you, Susie.
Oh, my pleasure, my honor.
I'll send you that cleaning fee and the... Just so you know that epic night, Susie slept under the piano in our bedroom because we ran. Oh, you wouldn't sleep downstairs with the ghost, so she was under the piano in our
I
bedroom.
had one amazing conversation with him that night, and that's a huge memory for me. Yeah.
All right, now we're gonna see who wants to say anything about Geoff. Elaine's gonna be first. Elaine and Geoff were friends since 3rd grade. I don't know how anybody put up with Geoff that long, but he's got some very loyal friends who stuck by him through thick and thin. And Elaine's one of them. Do you need my podium?
Yes. All right, so I time myself, it's 4 minutes.
Oh, Jesus.
I know. So I
You
do-
look at it, bring
but
the gong.
I do have to say, those of us that know Geoff well would know that he wouldn't have sung Memories, he would have sung Memories. I just have to put that out there. So I'm
I
Elaine.
should have done that, shouldn't I know.
So I'm one of the big chillers. I'm Geoff's friend, and on behalf of everyone, I want to first of all thank all of the Morissette clan for having us here and getting us together. And to celebrate Jeff.
No one can say
That was stealthy, very stealthy. So Jeff and I met in 3rd grade, and Chris Lord, I think probably you were the reason I was aware of him, because you and I were neighbors, and you were Jeff's friend first. But I mark our friendship beginning on Valentine's Day, our school party, opening our little cards, and I received a card from 9-year-old Jeff. And it thrilled me because Jeff had magnetism even then. He had that weird hair. And I still have the card, and it's not creepy, it's just sentimental. It's a hand-drawn Snoopy, and his arms are like this. And in Jeff's little 9-year-old writing, it says, this Valentine's Day, make me this happy, go away. and from that moment on, a lifelong friendship was born. So everybody in this room shares Jeff, and everyone here has Jeff in common, and each of us knows him from a different place and a different time and a different situation. And we either know or shared or survived his many stories, and we joined him in laughter and marveled at his incredible talents and his wonderful sense of humor and his loyalty to his many friends. And Geoffrey, or Godfrey as we called him, I'm not really sure where it came from, but Godfrey lived life largely, and he loved and was loved deeply. And unfortunately, sometimes he told you about that deep love in detail repeatedly. And people who met Jeff for the first time got the same as the rest of us veterans got, an audience with brilliance, loud, crazy wit, unexpected and often cringeworthy moments, and more fun than you thought was ever possible. But that's what we loved about him. He never held back. The first time my husband David met Jeff, Jeff repeatedly told him that he had hair like Hillary Clinton. And we still don't quite get where that came from, but they hit it off. And that night we had a fabulous night of laughter and great food in Miss Richfield in P-Town. And David put it best as we left the show and said, I've never actually sat with the most obnoxious person in the audience. I know that everyone in this room can relate, and that's what we all loved. So being friends with Jeff taught us all to say, fuck him if they can't take a joke. So he lived life on his own terms, and he set enviable goals for himself and accomplished them, and thankfully invited us to join in on his ride. We know things weren't always easy for Jeff. We remember his heartaches, his panics, his very ridiculous and dramatic fights with Marky, and his poverty, his near-death moments very clearly. But like the cats he was allergic to, he had 9 lives, and it was probably more like 99, or as Jeff would most likely choose, 69. But you do get the point. The most meaningful thing we can take from this moment is the fact that while he may not live life conventionally as the majority of us do, he truly lived by the cliche, life is short, and those words have a fresh and raw meaning for all of us now. So our group of friends were absolutely blessed in the most non-religious way to have spent the time we did with Jeff over the last 50 years. Lynn and Lisa and I spent time with him the weekend he died, and we're really thankful for that. On the morning of September 10th, he joked he wanted to go home. He rolled his eyes, and we brought him an iPad so he could listen to Bet and Liza and watch as many Patti LuPone videos as he could. And he was impatient with the setup we led him through, saying, I know how to do it, I'm not dead yet, bitch. And I'm probably not going to be around long, so I hope you save the receipt. We assured him not to worry. We told him we had already listed it on eBay, and we got that laugh from him that we miss so very much. So we know Jeff's stories are amazing, and I know we all have stories to tell today. I hope someone tells the story of the Saab accident, or the Baltimore Theater, or the carjacking, the Peabody Hotel, the time he met Patti LuPone, because although I wasn't there for any of those, they're some of my very favorite. So my story, unlike my speech, is short. It involves Trivial Pursuit. Jeff introduced us to the game when it was new in the early 80s, and we spent many nights around the kitchen tables at our childhood homes in Hampstead playing the game. And Jeff was usually cheating. So, I wouldn't tell you, but do you remember what Jeff said every time he landed on a pink space? pink as a monkey's dink every time. And the other thing his hysterical Trivial Pursuit habit was to take the empty spaces, put them in his eyes, and just belt out "the sun will come out tomorrow" in that loud, grating, annoying voice. So Geoff has left an empty space behind, but I do know that his stories and memories will keep him with us always. So it's your turn now to come up and tell a Geoff story.
Very nice.
So good afternoon, I'm Steve Corelli. I've known Geoff since 3rd grade as well, and I'm reading this on behalf of Lynn Kegley. Lynn, once you raise your hand, just wave so everybody knows who you are. I know this is a celebration of Geoff's life, and I want to celebrate him today. However, I wish we were not doing this in what would have been his 58th year of life. When you grow up with someone, when they have been part of your life since 3rd grade, you just assume that you will grow old together. It's hard to accept that is not the case. Geoff affectionately used to call Lynn his stalker. Even before the days of cell phones and social media or the internet, Lynn would always keep track of where Geoff was. And that wasn't an easy task. He seemed to move frequently and his phone number would change. But Lynn would track him down. She would always find a reason to visit him, like taking him to the Red Sox game or a Springsteen concert, or in the city he was living in. And Lynn's husband, Jim, would always be a willing companion to those trips with Geoff. Geoff was always generous when they visited him, showing them around whichever city he was living in at the time. I guess the most memorable visit was probably Phoenix, when Geoff allowed them to use his vehicle, do some sightseeing when he was at work. Little did he know that to the nature-loving husband, Jim, sightseeing meant driving up a mountain on a one-lane dirt road, at which point the transmission in his vehicle promptly seized. Wow. Having the vehicle towed from the location was no easy task, and Geoff was home for hours wondering where he had absconded to with his vehicle. When they told him what had happened, he wasn't mad. He simply said, "Well, the transmission was ready to go anyway. Don't worry about it, bitch." I added that in. And that was the day after we had all visited the Grand Canyon together and had allowed his blind dog, Roxy, to walk off the edge of the canyon. What? Luckily, she was on a leash. Wow. Prior to trips to visit Geoff with Jim, though, Lisa waved to everyone, the twin Lisa, and Elaine and Lynn took an infamous road trip to visit Geoff in Baltimore. During that one weekend, they visited the Washington Zoo, went to the Smithsonian, saw a hilarious professional comedian, and walked around the streets of Baltimore in the wee hours of the morning. During that same weekend, he had hydroplaned into 4 lanes of oncoming traffic, set off the alarms at the Smithsonian, partied on the roof somewhere in Baltimore with a hilarious professional comedian who shall remain nameless, and then had to figure out the way back to Geoff's apartment through the streets of Baltimore in the wee hours in the morning, because our tour guide, Geoff, had no idea where we were. With Geoff, there was always the possibility that you might end up putting your life at risk. One way or another, Geoff had an enormous personality, and he was a dry, irreverent sense. He had a dry, irreverent sense of humor. He had a knack for telling stories like no one else. And would have Lynn belly laughing every time you heard one. Geoff had a sensitive side though too, and some of the favorite times with him were when you got to spend the time alone together, just the two of you, having fun but talking about serious things. In the summer of 2020 during the pandemic, they had got to do just that. They spent a wonderful day together in Naples, floating in the ocean together, until you had to get out of the water because of lightning, forced you to leave. He made a fantastic dinner, and he was a good cook, he really was. And playing the piano after dinner. Cooking was one of his amazing talents, and playing the piano for you, which you love so much. After a health scare earlier that summer, he had quit drinking and smoking, was working out and playing the piano on a regular basis. He was healthy and seemed happy. There are many, many more memories of Geoff, both before and after that day. Too many to tell. But no matter where we were, or who we were with, he always made me laugh. He always finished every single phone call with, "I love you." Geoff was like a brother to Lynn and will remain part of Lynn's life forever. Geoff, I love you. I'm going to say something.
Something that you know you're going to say.
Yeah, this is a quick story. So in 1973, it starts in 1973 and it ends in 2014. How much time do we have? In 1973, we were in grade school in Hampstead, and I was Geoff's secret Santa. So, like a kid, you don't tell your parents that you need to bring a gift to school that day, and I'm like, oh my God, today's the day I'm supposed to give Geoff his gift. Mom, what do you have? I don't have anything. I'm a secret Santa. I need that gift. So she's like going through the house, finding something. She has some kind of a joke gift. And my mother was great at wrapping. She was so artistic. She'd take something and she'd wrap it up and make these bows. These bows were awesome. So you look at the present and you're like, wow, this has got to be an awesome present, right, Jan? And she was great at that. So I brought that present in and it looked awesome. And it was a joke gift. So Geoff was all excited. His eyes were big. He opened it up, and then when he saw what was inside, he was kind of disappointed. And nothing was said after that. And so now flash forward to 2014 when we had a weekend together, the big chill weekend as we call it, when we all turned 50. And during that weekend up in the outskirts of Bangor, Maine, doing a lot of drinking, doing a lot of karaoke, Geoff finally had the nerve to come back to me to say, hey, what was that gift that you gave me in 1973? I'm like, Geoff, what are you talking about? You gave me horse shit. A box, it was beautifully wrapped, but it was a box of horse shit. I'm like, Geoff, no, that was chocolate. It was made up to look like horse shit. It was a gag gift, He didn't completely believe me, even back then. I couldn't convince him. So, in front of everyone here, to the best of my knowledge, it was chocolate. I miss you, Geoff.
So, there's so many funny stories about Geoff. I was racking my brain, like, why couldn't I think of one to tell today? And the other night, Elaine and I were reminiscing on the phone. We were laughing so hard, talking about Geoff. And I remember the time Geoff and I were in high school. We both worked at Almies, along with some of the gang here. And I don't know what happened, but I was giving him a ride home. We were in Hampstead, and he made me laugh so hard that I did 2 360s, and we ended up on someone's front lawn. I think it was the Ashfords. And we just drove away like nothing happened. So that was like our typical Geoff story. But when Elaine and I were talking, I said, how was it we never knew he was gay? Now, those of you who met Geoff later in life, he was very flamboyant, but he was not that way when we grew up with him. But I thought back. The first sign might have been in 6th grade when he wanted to direct us in the musical HMS Pinafore. None of us had ever heard of that musical. But I remember him doing the choreography to dance. And we were all happy because it got us out of class. I don't know if Chris was in it. I know a few others were. Needless to say, we never performed the play. I don't know what happened, but that was kind of the first hint. The second hint, I think, was the blue jumpsuit, a denim one-piece blue jumpsuit that he wore in 8th grade. And unfortunately, I think he thought he was a fashionista, but maybe Steve, and I don't know how many others were relentlessly making fun of him that day. I will say he never wore that blue jumpsuit again. But one of us had the wherewithal to take a picture of it, and many years later, we used it over and over as a blackmail picture for Geoff. He did take it and tear it up, but we always told him we had a copy of it. I don't know if Lynn really does, but we always told him we had made a copy. The third hint that Geoff was gay. Not so much of a hint at first, because as Dove said in her beautiful tribute to Geoff, he went out with beautiful girls in high school. One is sitting right there, Dawn Alexander. We call her Peaches and Cream because of her peaches and cream complexion. Geoff had girlfriends who were so beautiful they aspired to be models. But what was really interesting is that Geoff and his girlfriends would call each other on school nights and plan what they would wear the next day, and they wanted to dress alike. So I remember him and his girlfriend coming to school and then at work at Almy's one day. They were both wearing pink button-down Oxford shirts, burgundy Calvin Klein corduroys, and buck shoes. And they were so proud that they dressed alike. Then was the infamous punk party that was at our friend's house. And Geoff, for some reason, had to carve penises out of hot dogs to bring us appetizers. I don't know why that didn't clue us in that he was gay. Anyway, there's another story that goes with that. He threw the knife that he used in the back seat. I sat on it, and I still have the scar to this day. In my right cheek. It should have had stitches, but I didn't want to tell that story to the doctor. There's another story about him running around Plymouth State College, now university, in nothing but a very, very short leather jacket, looking for Elaine's dorm room, knocking on the door. That was another clue. I finally knew Geoff was gay when he wrote me a letter coming out. And he was in college at the time, I was in college. And, you know, again, before the days of cell phones, texting, email, calling, he wrote me a letter. I don't know what he was expecting, but I wrote him a letter back and said, okay, so you're gay. You're still Geoff and we still love you. And we do love him and we always will.
Anybody else want to say anything? You got it?
Yeah.
Squeal?
Yeah.
All right, go for it.
All right. So, my name's Neil. I'm friends with Dove, also bandmate, and so on and so forth. My introduction to Geoff was at Jim's 50th party, and I think an introduction is an automatic story with Geoff. So I remember sitting at a table, and he was there, and you got to picture Geoff in that voice. I'm not even going to try to imitate it. And he just turns to me, and he goes, "Did you know that there is a fly that only lives 24 hours, and all it does all day is fuck?" What do you do with that? And I turned to him and I said, "Well, if you only had 24 hours, what would you do?" And he had a few in him, and he looks and he thinks and he goes, "Good point." So, Geoff, I hope for one day you lived like that fly. So God bless you. Hope you're doing well.
All right, a lot of good stories. Anybody else? Well, start thinking about it, and I'll tell one more story, I guess. This is one of the last Geoff stories that we have. My sister and Angus and I were playing in gym. We were playing a game. We always play games, and the game was you picked a card, and you had to find someone that you were playing with who would answer yes to the question on the card. And I got, I was supposed to ask people, have you ever been punched in the face? And so I looked at Robin and Angus and Jim, and I'm like, well, the only one who might have been punched in the face is Robin, you know. And so I asked Robin, and she said, no, I've never been punched in the face. And I was a little surprised. So then I said, well, maybe Angus has, because he owned this bar, and there were a lot of, you know, kind of unsavory people came in the bar, so maybe he's been punched in the face. So Angus said, no, I've never been punched in the face either. And, you know, a little less surprised. And I didn't even bother asking Jim, because, you know, Jim's never been punched in the face. So I was like, immediately said, let's call Geoff. Because I knew Geoff had been punched in the face at some point. So we just dropped everything that night. And it was weird, because we don't usually do that kind of stuff. And I called him up, and he answered. He wasn't working or anything. I said, Geoff, have you ever been punched in the face? And it was just an immediate yes. You know, yes. And he goes, by you. So then he said, and Mark. And then I remember, I punched you in the face. I didn't remember punching him in the face. But then I did remember, it was at a Dovepalooza rehearsal, and he was so obnoxious. And I punched him in the face. I poured a drink over his head, and I threw a drumstick at him, which didn't hit him, unfortunately. So, yeah, here's to my brother who's been punched in the face and some other stuff. Anybody else? Got anybody? Or was that? Oh, Mark's gonna talk. This is Geoff's longtime roommate, Mark, 23 years. I don't know how you did it. 25. I don't know how you did it, Mark.
Well, if we're going on telling some funny stories, I have one that I just kind of remembered, and it was at the very beginning of me meeting Geoff and becoming friends. We had moved. He asked me if I wanted to go move to Baltimore for the summer to stay with his best friend at the time, Robert. And he said, we can go up there, we can just stay for the summer, and we'll have a really good time, and it'll be a lot of fun. So we went up to Baltimore, and needless to say, I mean, it was a very good time and always eventful. But around Thanksgiving, I believe he asked you, Robert, what you would like to do. And you said, let's go to spend Thanksgiving with your family. So Geoff was like, why would you want to do that? But okay, we'll do it. So we got in the car, and we drove. It was a long drive because we hit traffic. We ended up somewhere in Pennsylvania, and then we finally got to Robin's house late that evening, And of course, we broke out the booze and started drinking while playing games. I think we were playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, at some point. But it was a 100-year-old house. It was the house that you grew up in. And I think that I got a little too drunk and ended up passing out on the couch. And because it was so cold, someone during the night, I don't know who that kind person was, but they decided to put a horse blanket on top of me, okay, to keep me warm. So the next morning I woke up, I was pretty hungover and not feeling very good, and Robin was like, oh, go ahead, take, the shower's there. It was down the hall from the little room, and I went down in the shower and was cleaning up, and as I was washing and everything, I was just sudsing up, and then all of a sudden I got to a certain area of my body, and I felt a little bump, and I was like, okay, what? I don't think I have a bump there. And then I looked a little closer and on inspection, and there was a little brown bump right in the center of my, we'll just say like my naughty bits. And I looked at it and I screamed bloody murder, okay? And I was screaming, Jesse, Jeff! And he comes running, he runs in the bathroom, and I just go, what the hell is this? Well, it turned out it was a tick, but he says, did it crawl on it or out of it? Very classic Geoff, and that would be my Geoff. One of many Geoff stories.
Anyone dare to follow that up? All right, I think I'm going to tell the infamous shit in the shower story. I wasn't going to tell it, but before Geoff died, we were reminisced about a couple of things. And this is just one of his shining moments. So, it was horrible. So I dated this guy in college. I really liked him. He was really hot, and we go home for the summer, and right before we left, I had told Geoff that he had gotten really drunk one night, and he shit in the shower, right? Not my shower, but his, and his roommate found it, was pissed at him. I should have never told Geoff. So the guy shows up unexpectedly at my house while I'm out. I didn't know he was coming. I didn't even know we were still going out, okay? I didn't know what was going to happen. So I come in, there's a car from New York in my driveway. I'm like, what the fuck? Who's that? I go in, and Dick, his name was Dick. So, hope he's not watching this. We are friends. So anyway, sorry, Dick. Everybody knows you shit in the shower now. So he comes in. He's there. I come in. He's already there. He's in my kitchen with my mom and Geoff. Geoff comes in, and I say hi, and Geoff comes in. Is this the guy who shit in the shower? So poor guy, I'm not going to say his name again, was petting my dog, and he just shot up like that, like his eyes were like this. And I should have just said, no, it wasn't, it's not. But I said, I'm gonna fucking kill you! And, which made it very obvious that, yes, that was indeed the guy who shit in the shower. But Geoff, like 2 days before he died, was just still laughing about that. That he just thought that was the best thing he ever did. So, all right, anybody else? I guess that wraps it up, huh? All right. I do want to say a couple of thank yous. Thanks to Lisa, Lynn, and Elaine, who did so much for this party, and Dawn. also everybody who helped me set up today, Mary and Jim, and all the big chillers, and I don't even know who else was here doing that. I also, I was going to thank a bunch of people, but I can't remember who else I was going to thank. So maybe I won't thank anybody else at this point. Of course, Jim, I already thanked you. Let's just remember Geoff the way he wants us to remember him. Like, he wanted us to have fun. When he was dying, he just said, "Oh, don't sit here watching me die. Go out and do something fun." So he would like us all just to have fun. Life's very short, as we know, and very unpredictable. Sometimes the youngest one dies, as Jim knows. Sometimes the second youngest. So let's have fun. Just live life good.
Yes, it was my